Hello, everyone, and welcome to the REDX podcast, the show where we explore the latest strategies, scripts, tools, and insights to help you supercharge your real estate business. I'm your host, Andrew, and today we have two very special guests with us. Please welcome back to the show, Mary and Michael Pallin, right? Did I get that right?
You did.
Nailed it. Hey, Mary, Michael, how are you guys doing today?
Just great.
Love it.
We're very happy to be here representing the Floyd Wickman team.
Yeah, and thank you,
The
Andrew.
Floyd Wickman team. Yeah, and we'll give you a chance to give a full intro here in just a second. But yeah, these are two amazing coaches. Mike and Mary are two amazing coaches from the Floyd Wickman program. They've been in real estate forever and ever, and they have amazing stuff that we're going to talk about today. So as always, we're excited to have you here. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most promising real estate opportunities in the industry. And understandably, two of REDX's most popular lead types, which is expireds and for sale by owners, right? So we're going to talk about why you should work these leads, what you can say on the phone to get that listing appointment, and most importantly, what to say when you're face-to-face to get the actual listing, right? So a lot of great stuff coming your way to our audience. Real quick first, just a little bit of housekeeping. As always, this is a participatory event. So please, if you're joining us live, say hello, let us know where you're from, chat in the comments. We are going to be keeping an eye on the comment thread. So if you have any questions for these two amazing coaches, please ask them. Expireds and FSBOs are such big, hard-hitting topics, and this is your chance basically to get a free coaching session from Mike and Mary here. So so please chat those in. We've got Amanda joining us. She's a regular viewer. Hello, Amanda. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? So that you get notifications every time we go live, every time we have this podcast, and have a new episode. So that's all from me. I got my boring stuff out of the way. Mary, Mike, let's get into it. I think it's safe to say, and you can correct me here, but expireds and for sale by owners are some of the lowest hanging fruit in the industry, right? They're some of the biggest leads. People love them. And I think it's because we all know that they're transaction ready homeowners, right? They recently tried to sell. They're trying to sell on their own. Basically, they're raising their hand and saying, I want to sell my home. Either they failed or maybe they're doing it wrong. They might need some help. So I guess my first question to you to kind of tee you guys up is, besides the low hanging fruit, right, which is the obvious reason why we love these leads, why should agents be working for sell by owners and expireds, especially right now in our current market?
Well, I know you've got a good answer to that, but I want to just jump in and say, you're assuming everyone's excited to talk about this. And I have seen a lot of people that are not. They're like, FSBOs, oh my God, they eat their young. Expireds, oh geez, everybody else is listing those, working those. So let's start with an attitude shift, dear audience. Let's be exactly what Andrew's talking about as somebody that's excited to go out there and find listings. That's what this is really about. So where are you going to find them? This is a great place to find them. And if you haven't tapped in or you had a bad experience, let's make a shift together. Today's the starting point of you getting more listings, doing the stuff you're about to learn, and partnering with REDX. Okay, now you can answer the question.
Well, I just wanted to say that you've heard of FOLO and FOMO, fear of losing out, fear of missing out. There's a lot of agents' fear of FSBOs, faux FSBO. So our job today, our objective is to equip you to get past the fear. And usually the way we do that, it's what Floyd is known for, is you knowing what to say. Because when you don't know what to say, what comes out? Right. Yeah. So we're going to do some dialogue with you today. As far as expireds, I know people have said to me recently, well, there's no expireds. Well, that's not true. There's more
not
than
true anymore. Yeah.
All of a sudden, boom, this year, we've got expired listings again to work. And why do we work these two? Well, in our experience, because we've been doing this coaching program for the last 14 years and Floyd's space training program for over 22 now.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah. Is your sphere of influence, or what we call your book of business, should be returning at least half of your business by repeat and referral basis, sometimes 2/3, for some of our folks as much as 80%. But it's got to be augmented with other prospects. And there's only 3 ways to find other prospects. Either pray for them, which I think might be a good method, or pay for them, which I don't think you really need to do, or make time in the day for them to augment your book of business. I don't want to minimize the value of really taking good care of the people you know, the people who are having conversations with people they know. And the conversations they're having, well, the Fed hiked rates again yesterday. They're about real estate.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is create in their mind a connection between the conversations they're having with people they know and you, and put you together. So don't ever downgrade the importance of that. What we want to talk about today is how to augment that part of your business with, as Andrew called it, the low-hanging fruit.
Because when the market shifts, you know, it used to be super easy, right? The last 10 years, we've been in sort of an automatic market. So people, you know, are talking about real estate. It's a great time. Everyone knows it's a great time to sell. That's not what American citizens and North American citizens are thinking about right now. They're thinking, oh, it's terrible out there. The rates are so high, et cetera. So this is the perfect time to augment. And there's a variety of ways to augment, right? But some of them are quicker and easier and cheaper than others. And that's why that's our topic. So why FSBOs and why expireds, Michael?
Well, number one reason, because everybody has buyers already. You've got buyers. You're working with them. And we're dealing with the lowest inventory level in the history of real estate. I mean, seriously, it's got to be tough to find on-market properties to show your buyers.
And if you do, someone else has found it already too. So now you're competing.
15 other showings this week.
Even though the market is shifting and is different, we are in this weird time where there is still low inventory and prices are going up and rates are higher. I mean, there's all these different weird combinations. This is a unique market. But one thing that's not unique, some people want to sell and they think they can do it themselves, FSBOs. And some people did want to sell and they failed, expireds. And they might be able to be renewed if you have the right kind of conversation with them. So since you're working with buyers.
Yeah. In order to be effective and do due diligence, and that's part of that old car acronym, you know, your due diligence, leave no stone unturned. If you're working with a buyer, you have to work off-market properties in this market. You just have to, because there's such a shortage of inventory. What's the alternative? Sit by the computer and hope that somebody else puts a listing on the market?
Pray, as you said earlier.
Yeah, no. Yeah, pray. You've got to find the property that suits your buyer and then show it to them and sell it to them. It's just fact of life today. And expireds and for sale by owners are the two easiest, first of all, to find, but second of all, to work. Because how do you convince and persuade somebody who hasn't even thought of selling? They live on Happy Hollow. They got a 2-story contemporary. That's what your buyer wants, a 2-story contemporary in Happy Hollow. But these people are firmly entrenched there. They love living there. And you knock on the door and say, I got a buyer who's willing to pay cash for your house. Have you thought of moving? Well, they haven't. But expireds and for sale by owners have. They're already preconditioned mentally to have this conversation with you. And the best news is they're not hiding. For sale by owners don't hide. They put signs out. Hey, help me.
Well, and expireds, even after time has gone by, might be still thinking of moving too. And we know all kinds of people using the REDX product to call old expireds. Yep. So when you're calling old expireds, you got less competition. Who else is doing that? And you don't have to hire REDX. I mean, you can spend 22 hours to every couple of days digging out the phone numbers and the names and all that stuff. Who was on the market in September of 2014, didn't sell, still lives there. That's a guy you'd want to call, or you can just pay for a list. and they guarantee a certain number. So it's pretty cool, and it's pretty reasonable price per hour to dig out that list.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, all these are such amazing points. And I really like what you said early on, Mary, where I said, like, yeah, they're great leads to work, but I did leave out the point of, like, but a lot of people don't like working. Why? Because they're combative, because they're reluctant, because they, especially with for sale by owners, they think they can handle it on their own. But it's your job as a real estate agent to, not necessarily persuade them. I mean, yes, persuade them, but more educate them and help them with their options and help them really get the most money for their home, especially with for sale by owners. So with all that being said,
we have a philosophy, Andrew, that Floyd gave us. And he said, work with your clients. And a definition of a client is this: somebody who will work with you, who wants to work with you and won't fight you. So you're going to go out, and if you're going to talk to expireds and FSBOs, yes, some of them have psychological walls put up, and some of them are pretty potent walls. They're the Great Wall of China in some cases.
Right.
Your real job is to find people who want to work with you. Go out. Do I want to work with this? You can't get them all. You don't even want them all, because even if you got them all, you couldn't help them all. So stop trying. Just go out and find clients, people who want to work with you and you want to work with them.
And I think you're going to be surprised, because some of them are nice.
Yeah.
Some of them, no one else has knocked on the door. They've gotten 422 postcards and no one else has called them. No one else has reached them. No one else has knocked. So, half the battle's right up here, right? We got to tell ourselves, I can do this. I'm here to help them. They don't want my help. Go to the next one. There's that 4-letter word, right? Everybody should know that 4-letter word. Just when you think you know all the 4-letter words, you need this one. Next.
Ariana Grande taught us that one. Thank you. Next. Moving on.
Absolutely. Well, I love all these points, and I think this is a perfect segue into the next kind of thing we want to talk about today. And I think what a lot of people who are joining us live are excited for, which is dialogues, right? Like, what specifically should agents be saying, whether it's on the phone or on the doorstep, to help convince or to get these for sale by owners and expireds to work with them, right? To become their client.
Can I start?
Yes.
All right. If you're listening and you're not driving, then please I'm going to have you write down a couple of things, and then we're just going to talk. But the root of it is in these 2 things that I'm going to have you write down. The first word I'd like you to write down is the word open, O-P-E-N. And then what I'd like you to do is put a big capital W in front of it and make it the word WOPEN. Now, if you've been Wickmanized at all, you know what that means. It's an open-ended question that starts with a W: who, what, where, when, why, how. The second thing I'd like you to write down is what we call sharp angle question. Sharp angle question. And it always starts the same way. If you knew ... would you? If you knew ... would you? Or you can also have it start, if I could show you, would you? So what you're going to hear over this, as we start working on this dialogue, is a few variations of those 2 basic themes. So now you know the instruments that are going to be playing. Now listen to the music.
And here's what I'd like you to write down: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any dialogue you want to put together to help you prospect should follow steps. Use your own words. I don't believe in scripts. Floyd doesn't, Mary doesn't, none of our students do, because scripts only work when you can hand the customer their half in advance and hope they follow it, which they never do, right? But if you've got a track you can follow, it's what you accomplish one step at a time that makes the big difference. And the track for prospecting is simple. Identify, introduce, ask, give them a reason, ask again. Identify the person you're calling, introduce yourself, then ask a question, preferably an open-ended or open question. Then give them a reason why you asked it, and then ask again. And that should start a conversation, which is really all we're talking about. By the way, as an asterisk side note, we said expireds, but there's 2 other types that fit in that category, and that's canceled and withdrawn. Don't forget that as well, because they all kind of fit under the same rubric. Usually canceled and withdrawns have another reason other than expireds who run out of time and just quit.
So identify. Hey, hello, is this Mrs. Wuchikowski? Introduce. That's where you follow the FAA guidelines and admit that you're a realtor. Okay. First name, last name, you're a realtor. Then ask. And that ask gives them an opportunity to say something negative to you. Have you ever listened to somebody do a script and they keep talking and talking and talking and talking? So you either get to hang up or you have to sit there and listen. Yeah. So let us.
I always hang up. I'm always like, no.
Yeah. But if you could say, no, listen, I'm not interested. No, we're going to stay here. No, we're going to try it on your own. No, we don't want to hire a realtor. If you can say that, that's what they need to say. So that's what, once you get that out of the way, that's step 3, let them say no. Then once you get that out of the way, then the whooping. Now we have a conversation.
Right.
So I'm calling an expired and I introduce myself after identifying them and say, I've been doing some research into your neighborhood. I noticed your home was for sale, but it didn't sell. What do you think happened? And all of a sudden, oh, the reason I ask is because I specialize in helping people who want to go through with their plans, even though the market has changed. And then ask again. If you had sold, what were your plans? And now you've got 2 open-ended questions that give you an opportunity to begin a conversation, not about you, but about them.
Sorry. So then, and so my approach, because it's the same thing, but my style, and here's the message, you be you, is to identify, introduce, ask, but say this, I was messing around on the computer. I was playing around on the computer today and noticed that your property went off the market without selling. I couldn't believe it. Wow. Why do you think it didn't sell? I mean, it even has the fireplace. Oh my gosh. How many offers did you have? What's the price that you put on it? You can go open. They don't know that you have all that information. So you get them talking and you sound like, wow, I can't believe it didn't sell. Where were you going to move? Oh my gosh, that's so, how many showings did you have? So you're fun to talk to. You're on their side.
Right.
You're getting them to talk and they'll listen to you, but only after they've had a chance to talk. So that's the key, not to sell too quick, to be real, to be you.
To have a conversation. And I love this principle because I love this idea of steps, not scripts, right? Because I think a lot of agents look for a magic bullet script that is going to get them every listing appointment and is going to work every time. And even though practicing these lines and these steps and these dialogues is important, right? You want to be smooth and you want to be polished. You don't just want to follow the same thing, because what if someone throws you for a loop, or what if someone says something you don't expect, or what if you just don't know what to say? And then, like you said earlier, Mike, it's just, you get stuck. You don't want that to happen. So treating it more like steps, not scripts, and treating it like an open conversation. And I think this is what I think makes a really good real estate agent a good agent, is they're genuinely trying to connect. They're genuinely curious. They're genuinely interested, right? They're there to make friends and make a connection and build a relationship, not just, to your point, Mary, get the sell, right? There's a sense of curiosity and authenticity that comes when you go in with the mindset of building a relationship, not being too scripted, and being flexible with where that conversation goes, right?
Yeah, I think humor and being, I tend to be sort of silly,
Yeah, I love that.
And I think the more fun you have, we've all heard coaches say, stand up and when you're talking on the phone and smile in the mirror and all that. But what if you just project joy, project, laughter? Oh my God, I can't even believe you answered, silly little things like that you can throw in that make you real and you're not scripted.
Absolutely.
Serve, not sell.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think that one thing that a lot of our viewers and listeners are probably wondering about is, okay, I'm using steps, not scripts. I'm having a conversation. I'm building a relationship. What about objections, right? Objections are huge. What are some common objections? And audience, if you want to chime in and tell us a few objections for expireds or for sell by owners that you're getting, please do. We'll put Mike and Mary on the spot here and have them answer them here live. Hopefully that's not too much pressure, but I know you guys are pros, so
Huh?
you
Well,
got it.
we want to pivot the expired to a sit down, to a get together,
Right.
face to face. And Mary mentioned it. That's where the sharp angle question comes in.
Right.
Right. Okay.
You know.
Okay. So just before we get to that, Mike,
Sure.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but can we just review maybe 2 or 3 of the most common objections you hear and how you would maybe navigate those? Because I know our listeners love to hear that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, I would say with expireds, the most common is, why would I do that now? I mean, the rates, I'd be buying a bigger house, or I'd be buying the same size house for twice the amount of payment because the rate is twice as what it was. So we're just going to wait a while. That's I think the biggest expired thing right now. Why would
and what do you respond with when you hear that?
Well, rates are going to do one of 3 things. They're either going to go up, stay the same, or they're going to go down, right? So what happens if they go up? Well, you're going to be congratulating yourself for having done what you did when rates were lower. And if they stay the same, well, there's no difference. But if they go down, what if, and this is for buyers too, what if rates go back down? What effect is that going to have on the market? Well, all the people who've been waiting for rates to go back down are going to get back into the market and competing against you to find the house. Remember those days when you had to outbid 20 people to win something and overpay? That's what happens when rates go back down. If you want to wait for that to happen, good luck.
Right. Rates will be rates, but people are always going to be buying houses. It's just about doing it.
Rates are temporary.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
You date the rate, you marry the house.
Yeah, we're hearing that a lot. I guess my response to that would be, wow, that makes sense. I mean, I understand why you're saying that, and I've actually heard that from other people. I don't know what the future will hold, and I don't think anyone really does. And anyone that tells you they do it, they're just blowing smoke up your skirt, right? So,
yeah.
What if we sat down and did the math? What if we sat down and said, okay, we got two approaches. I mean, maybe I should start with this, Mr. Homeowner. I mean, you would like to move. If the market were different, you'd go. Is that what I heard you say? Yeah. Then here's what I think we ought to do. I think we ought to look at where you are right now. Just have a sit down, no pressure. Study the numbers and then say, okay, what if this happens? This is the end result. What if that happens? Here's the end result. Whatever you decide to do is up to you. I'm going to be selling real estate a long, long time. But if in fact this is the right time, then I mean, I hate for you to miss it. So
I love that. I love that you turned that objection into a reason to sit down and get that appointment, right?
Can't convince somebody to change their mind over the phone. You can't convince them to change their mind standing at their front door. It just is not. As soon as you argue, you know, Floyd Wickman taught us that. The first thing you always do when someone throws you hesitation is you say something that says, I ain't going to argue with you. You know, like, well, I get it. I mean, gosh, you're right. Rates are 7. And that seems high. By the way, did you know that they were 7 in 1931?
You taught me that last time we were on the podcast.
So it's like, what? So yeah. All right. So what's another common hesitation, Michael?
With expireds?
Or FSBOs?
They had a bad experience the last time, so they don't trust real estate agents.
I don't know that they say that. I think that's true. You think they say that?
And I think that's maybe something for sell by owners do say, right? I don't need an agent. I don't, maybe not trust, but I don't need an agent. I can do it on my own, right? So it kind of goes both ways there.
Well, I think expireds have the almost universal experience of being abandoned by their listing agent. And that causes hurt feelings.
Yep.
Disappointment.
So, you know, what I would always suggest is if you think there's even a chance that we could go through with your plans, let's not get married. Let's just go on a date. See if we like each other first. And if you think there's chemistry between us, well, then let's talk about your plans. And maybe I could show you step by step how we could get you moved out to Misty Meadow by September.
All right. So let's do a quick FSBO one now, because I'm just thinking they say to you, well, I think I can find a buyer. I mean, this can't be all that hard. You know, based on the way my last realtor worked, you know, you put a sign in the yard and people show up. So, I mean, I don't think that's the hard part. And again, using that Wickman idea, look at my head. You know, anytime you're nodding while they're saying something totally distasteful that you want to go, ah, but you're going like this, you know, it means I agree with you. I understand I'm on the same page, as opposed to I'm going to argue with you as soon as you take a breath. So you nod, and then you say something that indicates, well, I'll tell you what, maybe you can find a buyer. There's a lot of buyers out there right now, and inventory is low. See, with a for sale by owner, I just don't think you can argue with them. They think they can find a buyer. You know what? They're probably right. They can find a buyer. Can they close it? You know, is it going to be a real buyer, or is it just a tire kicker that's pretending to be a buyer? Is it a buyer, or is it really somebody that's got to sell their house first? We don't call those buyers. We call those sellers. But none of that. It's not time to say any of that. I know that. So it gives me the strength, the confidence to say you probably can find a buyer. You know, I don't think that's the hard part in today's market. And then, well, I think
you probably can find a buyer. In fact, I may have a buyer for your house, so that I could speak intelligently to my buyer. Could I come take a preview? Take a look. I got a woman I'm coaching.
That's where I was going to.
Session this morning. Went on 4 of those this week, and all 4 of them let her in to preview the house. And started doing the conversational starters, which are open-ended questions. And she leaves with listings. All
right. We got to tell the Teresa story.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's talk about conversation starters. Can you get in the door on a FSBO? Everyone say yes. Can you get in the door on a FSBO? Come on, say it. Yes. You can get in the door. They'll let you in. The question is, are you going to wander around looking at one more house you're not getting paid on? Are you going to, argue with them and leave with never getting the listing? Or you're going to use some dialogue to land an appointment? That's what your number one goal. Knocking on the door, picking up the phone. Your number one goal is book an appointment.
Because the for sale by owner doesn't believe we bring value.
Right. They think they're going to walk away with more money.
We can find a buyer ourselves.
Yeah. Right. Well, I don't think there's anybody that really wants to sell their house themselves, right? Like, oh, I can't wait to stay home all day and field calls I've never taken before. And, I don't think anyone wants to sell their own home. They just look at the dollar amount that they don't have to pay a realtor, and they say, well, dang, for that much money, I'll pony up and suffer a little bit,
Some of us say dang. I don't say dang.
Dang. Yeah. I'm proud of the way I talk.
This is a student of ours from Monroe, Michigan. And last fall, she made a commitment to work for sale by owners for really the first time in her career, and ended up getting in 10 doors and listed 9 of them.
Wow.
In a month. It was in a month or 6 weeks or some crazy, fast.
But
that's impressive.
Here's the important thing. The 9th one turned into 14 other listings because it was an investor who had a whole bunch of properties.
Wow.
So that's
what did she do?
Another thing to ask expires is, what else do you have to sell?
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
Well, ask everybody. When you're done and you don't have anything and you don't have an appointment, ask that question. So what else do you have to sell?
Right.
Great little question. All right.
Yeah. So with for sale by owners, approaching them. She did 4 out of 4 this week, just this week.
That's crazy. That's super. And I think that's encouraging to a lot of our listeners who, kind of like you said at the beginning, are operating on this narrative that they're so hard to work with, and they're so hard to get to agree with you, and they're so hard to list. To me, that just says you're not trying, and maybe you're not saying the right things, right? Because I think that once you get in the door, you'll be surprised at how high that appointment rate and that listing rate and that closing rate is. Right?
So we want to do 2 things with you with regard to for sale by owners. We have a Wickman presentation, and we want to help. We want to share that with you. We want to convince you that you're worth your money. We want to spend a little bit of time on this whole commission thing and the dollars and cents. But we also want to tell you this story about this gal and how she did it, because it's pretty revolutionary, and you don't need a lot of training to do this. It's a matter of asking questions. So take it away, Michael.
Yeah. And the first question is, of course, have you found a buyer yet? If they haven't, well, I have buyers, and I'd love to preview your house so I could speak intelligently to mine. May I come in? And that usually gets you in the door. Now, if they've already found a buyer, that starts some different conversations. And here's some of the questions that you can ask as you're walking through the house.
This is what we learned from her. You get in the door to walk around the house, and while you're walking, oh, look at that chandelier. That's neat. And then you ask one of these. And I'm telling you, these are hard questions that the FSBO can't answer. So by the end of the time that you're looked at the house, guess what the FSBO is saying? And this is what we started laughing. Oh my God, Matt, half these people asked her for the appointment. Maybe we do need to talk to a realtor. So it's about very subtly, very, I guess, skillfully creating the idea in their minds that all the answers to these questions. And so when you ask somebody a question that they don't know the answer to, they don't always go, oh, I don't know, because they don't want to admit they're not smart. But what you're doing is you're getting them thinking, oh my gosh, we're out of our depth. So
this is kind of an offshoot of the old John Brown story. John's wife, Lori, said, my brother's selling his house and he has some questions. He's doing it by owner. I know you're an agent, but would you go over and answer a few questions for him? And he started just from a service point of view. And 45 minutes into answering questions from this for sale by owner, they said, would you list our house? So here's one. Who's doing your closing work? By the way, who's doing your closing work? By the way, what contract are you using? Is it NAR approved? By the way, who's doing your title work? Oh, by the way, do you have a real estate attorney? Oh, by the way, what are you doing about appraisal gaps?
How do you feel about them?
Yeah. How do you feel about escalation clauses?
What do you think about escalation?
Sure.
It's such a discussion in the marketplace. What are you thinking about them?
What's your strategy for handling multiple offers? Would you use the call for highest and best?
Yeah, some people don't like that. What do you think?
Do you have a backup offer strategy? How do you feel about offering owner financing?
What are you requiring for earnest money?
So what I see going on here is you're asking questions, genuine, authentic, real estate questions that make them think, oh, maybe I'm in over my head, or maybe I do need this person's help. Not only does it paint you as the expert, the genuine, authentic expert, but it gets them to consider that, oh yeah, there's way more to this than I thought. Maybe it is worth the money and the time to hire an agent, right? I love those questions.
As Mary said, finding the buyer is the easy part. Getting it to closing is where all the waters need navigating through sharks and landmines and everything else that's going on.
NAR says 17% fall through rate nationwide.
That's with realtors helping.
Right.
In some cases.
1 out of 6.
And according to NAR, half of for sale by owners to sell to somebody they know. How would you feel about selling to a family member or a friend? Which home warranty are you offering? How about this? What type of title do you have? Do you have Torrens or warranty deed?
Oh, I don't know. Gee, I think it's in the glove box. No.
What's that? Yeah.
What's your plan for dealing with unrepresented buyers? Which estimate of closing costs are you showing them? Do you have an app for doing that? Are you requiring proof of funds before showing? Which proof of funds? Would you accept a contingent offer? Have you completed a seller's disclosure? How familiar are you with the latest guidelines from Fair Housing? Sure would hate to see you get into legal problems. Anyway, all of those conversations, they should spark some uh-ohs in the mind of the for sale.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've been working with REDX in real estate for over 5 years now, and half of the questions you just asked, Mike, I was like, I know real estate jargon, and I don't know that real estate jargon. So, so Mike, you're hired. I don't know.
Well, it is almost a secret code language that we speak, but it's all based on getting from contract to closing.
Right.
Because that's the tricky part.
And don't be thinking you got to ask all, I don't know how many you typed out there, but we kind of brainstormed a list of questions. Find the ones that you think are the baffling ones, the ones that you would be comfortable if they said, well, what do you think? Or, that's fine. And be careful not to talk too much. The objective is to build a relationship so you get the sit down. Walking through the house is not the sit down. So your number one goal when you're prospecting is to do what? Get the sit down. Maybe I should yell it a couple of times.
What's the psychological principle behind that? And that's this, and you know this if you've ever sold anything, and that's people rarely, if ever, make a decision on their feet. They will make a decision on their seat, but not on their feet. So you got to get them seated, and that's get them to the kitchen table, you know? And one way you might do that with a sharp angle is, you know, now that I've seen the house, what if you knew for a fact that if you sold it yourself or you hired me to sell it, you would end up with the same amount of money in your pocket at closing, and I could prove it to you. Is there some compelling reason why you want to do all the work yourself?
Or would you be willing to sit with me?
Yeah.
If you knew, would you? If you knew that whether you sell it or I sell it, you'd walk away with the same amount of money, would you hire me? Would it at least be worth sitting with me? Either of those. You know, there's a time when you say one, there's a time when you say the other. That's all, you know, your instinct and what feels right. Would you be willing to at least talk about it?
I don't know if I agree with this number, but I found it on the NAR website. And it's last year, realtor assisted sales were average of $345,000.
Right.
Sale by owner sales were an average of $225,000. Now, I don't know where those numbers came from, but that's a big gap. You know?
Way more than an agent commission, by the way.
Yeah. Now, maybe for sale by owners are more prevalent in the lower priced brackets. Maybe that's what skewed that. But boy, there's got to be at least 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% difference in there that we can save them or make them more than they can do on their own. I know some trainers or coaches will tell you, learn this question. If I could show you how I could make you more money than you could make, would you let me take your list? You know, it's too soon to ask that question because you can't. First of all, it's way too hard for them to answer because they're doing the math in their head going, nah, that never happened. But if you can get them to sit down with you and have a conversation and do some of the math and get some of the logic, eventually the ones that you want to work with and want to work with you will come over to your side.
So Floyd Wickman invented a for sale by owner presentation years ago. And what's cool about his stuff is it doesn't go out of style. So you modify the words and the way you deliver it based on hot market, cold market, lots of buyers, no buyers, lots of, but it's all the concept is the same. You know, the first time I heard him ask, what's the question I'm looking for? I don't know what you're, Mr. For Sale by Owner, would you be willing to pay me 3%? And by the way, I'm just randomly choosing whatever the buyer side in your neighborhood commonly is, whatever you would require as a buyer on the buyer side. If I brought you a buyer, would you be willing to give me, I remember
Would
Floyd
you co-broke
saying,
with me, in other words?
yeah, but I remember him saying 3%. I brought my little handy dandy notebook here. Okay. So he said, would you be willing to pay me 3% if I brought you a buyer? And I'll never forget, because in my area at that time, that was pretty common to be paid if you had the buyer. And I thought, that Floyd, how can he? Well, I'm not gonna do both sides of the transaction, have double the legal cost, double the work. I can take these buyers and get that 3% selling them something else. Why would he teach that? And here's why he taught it. So what's the commission that you're asking? I don't know. I'm kind of trying to be backwards here. There's a mirror. Let's pretend it's 5. Well, you know what? If they're willing to pay 3%, you only got a 2% problem that you got to convince them you're worth. Maybe you want 6. Well, then you only got to convince them you're worth 3%. Maybe you're going to ask for a 7%. Are you with me? So the brilliance of him is, a lot of FSBOs will say, yeah, if you bring a buyer, we'll give you, they're willing to pay the buyer commission. And that's a good thing. Not because you're going to do that, but because you're going to charge, they're already half sold or partly sold on paying a fee. So there's a great little question up front with those for sale by owners. If I brought a buyer in the door, would you pay me? Would you be willing to cooperate? Would you be willing to pay me a fee? Whatever that fee is, we know it's supposed to be negotiable. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Floyd did put together this presentation, 3 facts and 6 reasons why those 3 facts are true. And it's in a PowerPoint slide presentation. If you would like a copy of that, we want to offer it to all your listeners for free. If they go to floydwickman.com/REDX, that's REDX, right, Andrew?
Yep, you got it.
And you can download it right there as our gift to you for listening to the podcast. We thank you very much. We want to share parts of it, just little parts of it, in hopes that you'll download it and learn it and use it, because it will get you listings.
So I like math. I really don't like math, but I believe that I really don't like math. And listen, by the way, if I can learn this, then you can learn this. Now, Floyd created what's called a financial risk analysis. And what it is a list of, I can't get it this way.
Yeah.
Well, you should hold this.
You got it.
Yeah, there we go. So it's a list of items that could happen that would cost dollars and cents, right? So it's a whole list like that. And it's on a PowerPoint slide. And you can take them off and put them on. You can modify it and just use the ones you like. Like, what if rates go up? How much would that cost you? And then there's a whole bunch of them, so that at the bottom, you total that all up. And how much money did you just throw out the window because it took you longer to sell on your own than me? So in the first couple of things, you convince them that you can sell it faster than they can. And a FSBO says, fine, I don't care. But when you get to this one, you say, because it takes you longer to sell than me. This is the risk, the amount you risk losing. And look at that dollar amount.
Amazing. And that's all included on that PowerPoint?
Yeah. Rates might go up. You bet. They did yesterday.
Yeah.
And the Fed said they're going to do it again.
That's right.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that amazing resource. I know that our viewers are going to love that. What's the link again? You said floydwickman.com/REDX, right? Okay.
How did you remember that, Andrew? That was pretty good.
I don't know. I got a horrible memory, but somehow I pulled it off. So that was great. Well, we are running out of time here. What's that?
We're out of time, aren't we?
We're running low on time. So I just want to give you the last chance to get one more word in, one more piece of advice to our listeners. We're going to have you back. I know I said that last time, and now we have you back, but let's plan to bring you back on the podcast to dive deeper into this, maybe some other topics, some other lead types. But any last words that you want to leave with our audience today?
Wait, last words? That's not like a last meal or anything, is it? All right.
No. Final words. We'll call them final.
All right.
Maybe that's
and mine is FSBOnopoly.
FSBOnopoly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Working for sale by owners doesn't mean the first door you get in, you get a listing. It sometimes means 9 visits before you actually build the relationship and convince them, persuade them, join forces with them. If you treat it like it's a board game, like Monopoly, like I'm going to just move 1 square today, maybe 2 squares. If I'm happy, I'll get from Baltic Avenue to St. Charles, and then I'll get around to free parking the next day. And if you treat it like that and be patient, you'll eventually win more for sale by owners than if you think it's a one and done.
And I think that's super important, Mike, because a lot of agents, and I know this from hearing them tell me this, they get discouraged when it doesn't work on the first, even second or third time. Hearing that magic number 9, and I'm not magic necessarily, but hearing that number 9, it takes a lot of follow-up to convince someone and to build that relationship. That is so important. And I think that's a principle that everyone should internalize and embrace as they work with these leads.
Fortune's in the follow-up. Yeah,
absolutely.
Last
my
words.
Final words.
Final words. Until next time.
My final words are: this is our market. Walk around and tell people how great it is. Be proud of this market. We don't need every realtor. We don't need 4 million realtors with a license. We don't. We need sharp, skilled, well-trained, caring, loving, serving people. And if that's you, this is your market. This is what you were born to do. Get good at dialogue. Get good at skill. Use REDX to help you streamline your prospecting so you can talk to more people. That's the thing they don't do for you, is the talking part. So they give you all the information. Use that. Go make some money this year. It's going to be a great year for you.
I love it. I love that. And we're getting a little bit of feedback from our audience saying that maybe that page, the Floyd Wickman / REDX, they said that maybe the resource isn't there yet. So let's check. We'll have Mike and Mary check with their team. We'll get that up as soon as possible. So check in later this afternoon and we'll have that ready for you. But other than that, thank you, Mike and Mary, so much for all that great advice. Thank you for joining us again. The time has flown by. We've been here for 45 minutes and it feels like it's been 20 and like we barely scraped the surface. But again, we're going to have you back to dive in and teach us some more principles. I hope that everyone listening and watching today enjoyed their free top tier training from two of the most amazing coaches in the industry, two of the best coaches I've met. And Mike, Mary, you always make it such a fun time and teach such important principles. So thank you very much. To our audience, again, if you are not subscribed on YouTube, if you're not following us on Facebook, please go do that so that you get notified every time we go live with Mike and Mary and other amazing coaches and agents. And join us next week, Thursday at 1:30 Mountain Time, 3:30 Eastern for another episode of the REDX podcast. Until then, thanks again, Mike and Mary, and we'll see everyone next time.